Welcome back, everyone. This is Dave from Corn Productions with my co-host Stacie here to talk about the movie Halloween Party. This was the movie released in 2019. This is the first of a set of films that we are looking for Halloween month.
Yeah, happy October.
Yes.
All month long, we're going to be bringing you Halloween theme and horror-related movies and content, in addition to our regular fall lineup. So there's lots and lots and lots of great stuff on our channel and coming soon.
Yes, we are going to be quite busy this month and beyond for the rest of the year, for sure.
Yeah, and if you're new, if this happens to be your first time landing with us, welcome. It's great to have you here. What we do is we're going to go through and do a scene-by-scene analysis talking about the entire film and what we think about all of it and talking about the cast and all of that great stuff.
Yes, and this one in particular has a lot of connections to a lot of things that we do.
Yes.
So that's why we're basically leading off with this one for that particular reason. All right, so the movie's description reads as follows. A college student unwittingly releases terrifying entities from her school's past via a Halloween-themed computer meme. The movie was written and directed by Jay Dahl. And before going any further, I'll tell you a couple of things. One, this is not a spoiler-free podcast. If you haven't watched the movie, I highly recommend you go check it out and then come back and give us a listen. Secondly, if you're listening on one of the platforms that this podcast is now available on, please follow and feel free to check out my YouTube channel, Corn Productions, where additional content can be discovered. If you're already on my YouTube channel, please like, share, and comment, as well as subscribing to our channel and hitting the bell so that you can be notified when new content lands.
And there's a lot of it right now.
Yes. All right. So, Stacie, your thoughts on this movie?
All right. So I love horror. This is definitely B horror, maybe even C horror. It's not a big box office hit or anything like that, but I had fun with it. It's about bunch of college-age kids. I was a little disappointed because we've been waiting like a year to watch this movie since we first started talking about it. I thought it was going to be about a Halloween party.
I know, I wanted to see a darn
There's
party.
no party in this.
Yes.
That's not what it's about. We're obviously going to talk about what Halloween party is referring to. So I was a little disappointed because we didn't get like the setting I wanted. So now I think I got to go find a movie about a Halloween party to make up for that. But yeah, it was fun. There's so many recognizable faces for us from stuff that we have already covered and are continuing to cover, which we're going to talk about as we talk about all of these actors as we meet them throughout the discussion.
That is the main appeal for me.
Sure. If people we didn't know weren't in this, it'd just be like, okay, that was a movie.
Right.
Like, I watch a lot of this level of, like...
Right.
Like, I don't want to call it independent. I don't know if it specifically was, but, you know, that type of horror movie, right? Where it's not necessarily a big budget, and it's not necessarily, like, these amazing effects, although there are some pretty cool effects in this, and some pretty cool makeup. It's still, you know, it's a lower quality than some things.
Right, yeah.
Than a lot of things.
It's definitely not classic horror by any stretch of the imagination. The main appeal for me is seeing some of these actors who I've seen in other things.
Including actors we've interviewed on this channel.
Indeed. And, yeah, basically see them have a bigger part than they typically have. Like Amy Groening, she plays Grace in this movie.
Yeah,
she's basically the star of the film.
Yeah. So we have, so the two lead actors, let's talk about them straight off, and then we'll hit the rest of them as we meet them.
Amy Groening, we talked about her when we did Dawn, Her Dad, and Tractor. Now, she was, you know, a pretty significant role in that movie, but she was a supporting character.
Right. She played the role of Tammy, which was the wife of Reed Price's character.
Right.
Of course, this is the unofficial Reed Price fan club here, so we got to talk about him a little bit. Even though he's not actually in this movie.
No.
I've made jokes about it. I feel like the content we're picking at this point, I feel like we're playing the 5 degrees of Reed Price.
Basically, yeah.
You know, like the 5 degrees of Kevin Bacon, but we're in Nova Scotian television here, and we're talking about people who know and work with Reed Price. Apparently, that's our new thing.
Yeah, so here we get her in a starring role. That was kind of fun. T. Thomason. T. Thomason had a somewhat supporting role in Sullivan's Crossing season 1. Yes,
he plays Jackson in Sullivan's Crossing. He's playing the lead male in this movie, whose name is Spencer, a.k.a. Special. That's everybody in this movie has nicknames. Not everybody, but most of them do.
T. Thomason is also in season 2 of Sullivan's Crossing. We speculated that he perhaps might not be, but he definitely is in that season, based on the credits on Internet Movie Database, which, yes, granted, are somewhat wrong when it comes to Sullivan's Crossing.
Well,
but...
by the time this airs, I think we'll know more.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah, we didn't actually say it off the top, but we are pre-recording this. So if we say anything that doesn't necessarily jive with current situations, it's because we are recording this a little not in October.
Right, yeah. In order to basically bring this content, we basically pre-recorded this stuff because we're going to be way too busy when it comes to October or November, December.
Yes. And that also means definitely still want your comments on all of these films, but we will not necessarily be bringing up your comments in the next film. I think at the end of the month, though, we should do a kind of regathering and just read all of our shout-outs for all of the films from the month.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so those are our two main characters, Grace and Spencer. And again, Grace is Amy Groening from Don, Her Dad, and the Tractor. She's also in Bone Cage, which we talk about a lot. She's in a ton of Christmas movies.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of these people do a lot of Christmas movies.
Yep.
And T. Thomason, we said he's Jackson in Sullivan's Crossing. He's also in 7 episodes of Moonshine. He is the son of Shelley Thompson, who's also in this film, who we have interviewed on our channel. We have an interview with Shelley where we also talk about her son. And he is a musician. He has a new hit single out called Ruinous Love. Make sure you go check that out.
Yes, absolutely. All right, so the movie begins with Grace and Zoe looking through Zoe's vacation pictures.
Zoe,
I wasn't sure.
Zoe.
I don't know. So they are college-age girls in their dorm. I mentioned Grace is already played by Amy Groening, and we've talked about her already, but she has 35 credits, and she also has an appearance on Goon, which did not come up. Interestingly enough, Bone Cage, which you brought up, was directed by Taylor Olson, who is also in this film. Zoe is played by Marita Land. This is her first acting appearance. But she's gone on to do 10 additional projects, including an appearance in Season 2 of Sullivan's Crossing.
Yes, she has an appearance in Season 2, which, as of the time we're recording, we haven't seen yet. I don't know if that episode's going to air before or after this, but
so we'll
talk about her when we talk about that episode, or when we did talk about that episode.
We might have already talked about her. That is episode 6 that she appears in, though she could be in more episodes for all I know, because Internet Movie Database was terrible when it came to Sullivan's Crossing, as we already mentioned.
It was. Hopefully this season goes smoother, but who knows. She also is in 2 episodes of Chapel Wait, which has a lot of Nova Scotian people we know in it as well.
In comes Frat Boy, nicknamed Bubbles, a.k.a. Darren, played by familiar face, Zach Bay, and we basically covered this guy's half of his credits. He was in From, The Sinner, as well as Dawn, Her Dad, and The Tractor.
Yes, so we've covered all of those things.
Yes.
He plays a cop in 2 of them. In Dawn, Her Dad, and The Tractor, he plays the cop Fuzzy. In The Sinner, Season 4, he plays Officer Josh. Of course, he's Reggie in From, who had a small but significant role in Season 2 of From. And yeah, his real name, the character's real name is Darren, but he goes by Bubbles in the Tub. And that's something... Taking notes for this movie was so fun because there's some insane credits for these character names, both for the kids as well as for the creatures that we're going to end up meeting in this film. I think this was the hardest and the most fun cast list I've done for all of the things we've covered so far.
Speaking of Zach Faye, basically the rest of his credits seem to be shorts. Basically.
So we've covered the big stuff.
Basically his career. Unless, of course, at the time that this dropped, that
he might do more things.
And hopefully he will, because as I mentioned before, he is a talented guy.
And we're hoping even to get him some credits on our show. So maybe that's happened by now.
Yeah, we'll see. So he brags about being HIV negative. Congratulations.
Yeah, he's totally hitting on Grace. He's just meeting Grace. He already knows Zoe. We're in Zoe's dorm room where Grace is visiting at the moment.
And then there's another dude, Court, who joins him. And then they are both basically kicked out by the girls. Court is played by Scott Bailey, who also only has 8 credits. The only recognizable thing that I saw on his credits, and it's not even something I watched, was Haven, because that's come up a couple of times.
He was in 2 episodes of Haven. That's what I have for him as well. So the guys invite the girls to a party, and they're not interested. They kick them out. And we learn from, Zoe tells Grace that Bubbles he's a YouTube guy. He has some viral video, and that's how he got his nickname, Bubbles in the Tub.
Maybe I should have tried that and gotten maybe like 2 million new subscribers.
I don't know if YouTube would like that.
No, probably. So suddenly something appears in the computer. A text says that a Halloween party for Grace, and it asks, "What are you afraid of?" Grace thinks Zoe has a virus, but Zoe says that she's seen the meme. You're supposed to type out your worst fear. Grace is confused on how it even knows her name. Grace wants it gone. Zoe suggests just letting the timer run out, but she types in some answers before she gets to spiders in her private area. That's not how they say it, but I figured since this is a family channel.
You didn't want to say that?
Yeah. And that turns out to be her actual fear. Okay, so that's pretty interesting.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and comment some spoilers here. If you still haven't caught the spoiler warning, I'm going to skip ahead to some stuff that happens later because I want to bring it up now.
Okay.
If all of this supposedly starts right here in her closet,
yes,
because Zoe's doing stuff in her closet right now, and we learn later that's where this all started, is right here with the closet, then how has Zoe already seen this meme before? How's it already a thing going around?
I was not really clear on that.
And
I was thinking maybe it didn't start in her closet, but was triggered by Zoe being in her closet.
Yeah, but the whole point is that someone being in the closet is what makes it go.
Right. Okay.
And not only, like, does she know about it already, and, like, it's a meme going around. She's already seen the failed image. She's seen the witch.
Which means that some people should already be dead.
So, right, who died?
Right.
If it's already going around and she's already seen the witch, who was playing when the witch came up?
Mm.
And why are we not like, oh my god, they died?
Right. That's not once brought up that other people have died before this incident happened.
Yeah, so I'm just a little confused by, we're like, oh yeah, it's a thing already, and I've already seen it, and it's this, stupid witch.
Right.
Like, did she play already? Did she get the witch? In which case, she already should be
marked for death.
Should be marked, so why would she play again?
Right. I don't know. But yeah.
Anyways, back to the moment.
Zoe says that by typing in the answer, she didn't get to see the end of the video, and that's good news for Grace. But Zoe claims to be not afraid of anything, but eventually gets pushed into admitting that pigs are her worst fear.
Yeah.
Something that Grace ends up mocking her
Her
for.
brother used to chase her in a pig mask. And she shows Grace this kid's book with anthropomorphic pigs in it. That means pigs that are dressed and act like people. And she says she got this after this event that happened. She tells this story. There was a farm down the road from where she grew up, and basically the pig ended up eating the farmer.
Mm-hmm. Which, by the way, is something that actually does happen.
I'm sure it does.
Yes.
But then, after that event, she heard something behind her house, and she saw a pig man. So her biggest fear is a pig man.
And now that's my greatest fear.
Is it?
No, actually not. I think my greatest fear would probably be, I don't know, death. Or stepping on shower drains. Yeah, I generally don't like doing that because, as a kid, I always thought that something would grab me from the shower drain. So maybe I should have left that story for therapy, but there we go.
Okay, so Zoe grabs her phone, and now the Halloween party meme is on her phone, and she's about to enter Pig People, which we already learned was her biggest fear. But in order to show Grace the witch, she ends up not entering it and letting the timer run out.
Oop, that was a mistake on her part. They end up... So she fails to answer correctly. We see the witch, and we get that lame witch screen. It's time to leave. Zoe has to go to work. They end up passing by Bubbles, and a character...
the bros they pass by.
One of the characters was played by Taylor Olson, who is named Mike.
Taylor Olson, his name's Mike. His AKA is Fart Party. We're going to spend more time with him later, but since you mentioned it, let's cover Taylor Olson.
He is the director behind Bone Cage, and he also appeared in Dawn, Her Dad in the Tractor.
He did appear in Dawn, Her Dad in the Tractor. He was kind of the bad guy in that film.
Yes.
He is in one episode of The Sinner, which we covered. He plays a character named Patrick. Mm-hmm. And he is in and wrote and or directed, I forget which one, King and Pawn, which is a short format series that Reed Price stars in.
I'm pretty sure he both appeared and directed.
He appeared and did something, either writing or directing. I just forget which one.
Yep.
He has lots of writing and directing and producing credits. He's a very busy man.
Yes, his resume is pretty darn impressive.
Yeah.
I was hoping to try to get him on the show at some point, but
I want all these people on our show.
Absolutely.
So everybody, let's have our own Halloween party.
Yeah.
Contact us, please.
Yes. Okay. So Grace ends up bringing Zoe to work.
Which is at the mall. She's doing like a after hours inventory at some clothing store.
Okay, so she's left alone with by her boss, which I guess is her boss, Vicky?
I thought they were just working together.
Okay.
So she's with Vicky, and real quick, Vicky is played by Katherine Richardson. She only has 4 total credits, including 1 episode of This Hour Has 22 Minutes. She's primarily a fashion model, actually.
Oh, okay. I can see it. She starts getting alarming pictures and text messages
from Vicky's phone.
Right. And working around, she eventually sees something moving in the shadows. So she's getting scared. She runs to pull up cameras and sees what I presume to be Vicky laying there on the ground, and an evil pig creature.
Yeah, the pig man.
The pig man, by the way, is played by Bradley Bailey. I'm kind of curious if she's related to Scott Bailey, who appears as Court.
I was wondering that. I didn't find any evidence, but I probably didn't dig hard enough because there's a lot of people in this movie. It took me a long time to take these notes.
Oh, he also appears in Sullivan's Crossing Season 1 finale,
yes,
Sins of the Father.
He's in episode 110 as a camper. He's also in an episode of Haven and an episode of Trailer Park Boys.
So in other words, we've already probably talked about this particular actor. I don't know that we dive too deeply into it.
No, we definitely mentioned him because we've mentioned every actor in Season 1 of Sullivan's Crossing. Unless it was a credit that didn't exist yet when we cover that episode, because again, those credits are terrible. Right. They probably keep changing. But anyway.
The pig creature eventually ends up killing her. Okay, so I will
killing Vicky.
Vicky.
No. Killing Zoe.
Zoe as well.
Okay, but what happened to Vicky? Did it kill Vicky too?
Yeah, that's
because it dragged Vicky away. Why is Vicky dead?
I don't know, because
circumstance?
She has nothing to do with the fear.
But we also don't ever acknowledge that Vicky's dead.
Right. So maybe she was just knocked out.
I don't know. We never talk about Vicky again. She was just dragged away.
I will say that these scenes, although most of the movie is not like really scary, these are very effective scenes.
Yeah. There's not a lot of gore.
No. Or any gore, really.
I feel like this, I didn't write the rating down, but it was kind of a low rating. It's not like a high rating.
It's kind of like a Goosebumps episode.
Yeah, there's a lot of like off-camera deaths, right? Or like just kind of more like jump scares than actual gore. Although there is a little bit of like at certain points.
Yes. Grace in the morning gets the call about her death. She arrives at the mall to see it roped off and police cars all around, and she ends up crying. She sits with her friends, kind of despondent.
Yeah, they went, like, to breakfast.
Okay. She's at the cafeteria, or I guess they're at the cafeteria.
They're eating somewhere.
Yes. And eventually she sees a picture of the crime scene, and there was apparently a pig mask.
There was a pig mask. So now she's making a connection between the meme and Pigman and her friend's death.
3 weeks later, Grace hasn't really left her bed much.
And I'm going to say we get this super cool shot here that... So it's like the opening graphic for the film.
Yeah.
And then we get the 3 weeks later little wordage. Yep. It's this really cool image. We see the school and the camera's like panning up from it.
Yeah, that was pretty
good. It was this beautiful shot. Like it was I think the best moment of the film. Like, as far as like cinematography goes, this beautiful shot giving us our opening graphic.
The best moment of the film in your mind is the establishing shot of
the
school.
Like shot moment of the film. Like, it was a really cool camera angle thing.
So, yeah, Grace really hasn't left her bed much. She isn't going to class. She's clearly depressed. One of her friends shows up and says that she's going to get kicked out. She's kind of mean to her. And I forgot to take note of this actress.
This is Charlotte. Yeah. And she's played by Lisa Hackett.
That's her only credit, isn't it?
She's in one episode of the Lizzie Borden Chronicles, which I loved that show. That came up in a few of these people's credits, actually.
So she ends up agreeing to show up in class on Monday. Grace ends up getting out of bed and goes to meet Spencer, a computer guy.
Yeah, so she's texting with somebody named Charlie. We never met Charlie. But Charlie's a friend of hers that she's texting. And it was Charlie's idea for her to go to this IT guy. So she doesn't know Spencer. We've already talked about Spencer. But this is where he comes into the story. And basically her friend Charlie, who can't be too good of a friend, because maybe it's a friend back home, because they don't actually ever come and help her with any of this. They know Spencer, right? And sends her to go talk to Spencer, and because he's some IT guy, he's going to be able to figure out the meme. That's the whole idea behind this interaction.
All right, so we've already established who T. Thomason is, the son of Shelley Thompson. Spencer looks into the meme and finds nothing in a bunch of spots. I don't really know what he's doing. And finds something weird is afoot. I have no idea what he's talking about. It's a bunch of, stuff that he's saying. And actually, I kind of found that difficult to pay attention to some of these conversations because a lot of it is just straight nonsense.
All right, so we've already met the bros.
Yeah.
In this room, we're meeting the tech guys.
Mm-hmm.
So Spencer's friends, even though they can't be too much of friends because they're also calling him by his nickname Special, which we'll learn later was for special education.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not an endearing nickname.
No, generally not.
But the guys, they're teasing her because they actually read these texts and they're teasing her about the fact that her friend said, oh, just because you're a girl, right, they're going to fall over to help you or something like that. So we meet the characters of Jimmy and Pete, who are two of the tech guys. Jimmy is played by Jason Morley. He's only in this, plus he has credits for 2 shorts. Pete is played by Ben Lagier. This is his only credit. And also in the room, which we'll meet all of these guys. Every time we come back to this room, it's the same, tech guys. The other tech guys are Sam. Sam is played by Jason Daly. He has an interesting credit list. He's the location manager on this film.
Oh, really? Okay.
And he is the assistant location manager on The Sinner Season 4.
Interesting.
He is the location manager assistant on Season 1 of Sullivan's Crossing. And as far as acting goes, he's in that new show, The Trades.
Okay.
But yeah, he's a set location guy that's worked on lots of stuff we've talked about.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know if they're just like pulling people from set and they're like, hey, we need another dude to come say a line.
It's
but
possible.
He doesn't seem like he's an actor, first and foremost.
Okay.
And then as they're finishing this conversation and leaving, we meet the last of the tech guys, who's Lipman. And Lipman is played by Jordan Talbot. He's involved in a bunch of different Trailer Park Boy projects.
Gotcha.
So that's the tech guys.
Okay, so where am I?
Sorry.
Okay, so she takes him back to her friend's dorm.
Yeah, he says he needs to see the computer where the virus first popped up. So they go to Zoe's dorm room.
Grace realizes that someone's been in there because there's a mess in the closet. Spencer offers a camera that connects to her phone so she can figure out who's been in there. And this is something that ends up impressing
It's interesting to note because she doesn't leave the camera there like she was supposed to do.
Right.
She takes it and puts it in her pocket. Good thing she did because we need it later.
Right. They start talking about 80s movies, which Spencer says is will they fornicate movies. That's not, of course, the term that he uses.
I use the phrase will they or won't they.
Right. Yes. But Spencer thinks he may have given her the impression that he's talking about the two of them, and then awkwardly starts backtracking. And spoiler alert, no, they do not fornicate in this movie.
But we do have a callback to this conversation.
Yes. Grace makes a comment about how it's a good thing they aren't in a movie. Oh, poor naive Grace. Bubbles.
Yeah, it was a very meta conversation. I thought it was cute.
Yeah. Bubbles stops by to offer condolences about her friend, and as it turns out, he knows Spencer. And soon the meme pops up on the computer with Darren's name,
which is Bubbles.
Right.
That's his real name.
Yep. Grace tells Spencer about it. Darren makes some random guesses but fails to guess correctly.
And Spencer's recording this whole thing on his phone, so he'll have some video evidence of what the heck's going on.
And he gets to the witch.
He entered The Exorcist, which he told them was his biggest fear. So when Grace and Spencer are leaving the building, she's happy because she's like, now I know it's not real because, he put in his biggest fear and he still got the witch. So now it's fake and, we're done. It's cool. It was all coincidence, the pig man.
Yep. Spencer got nothing, from this interaction and ends up going back to the lab.
Oh, and one other thing, which I just skipped past, is that on the way out of the building, they run into court again.
Yes, that's actually where I'm at.
Okay, I skipped a little bit.
Yeah.
And this is where we learned that Spencer got the nickname Special in 7th grade from the bros.
Right. And this is where we learned that there's going to be a Halloween party.
There's going to be a Halloween party that we don't
get to see. Yes.
I don't think it actually even ends up happening because
everybody dies.
Yeah.
Basically Spencer ends up walking to her car to avoid court. who gives her douche bumps, as is the term that she uses, and I think that's a pretty good one.
Yeah.
Spencer reveals that Bubbles' worst fear was actually the tall man, who used to stare at them on the playground.
Yeah, so they knew each other when they were kids, apparently. So a man used to watch them on the playground when they were 5 years old. One day, the tall man grabbed Bubbles and was preparing to abduct him, but somebody's dad stepped in and stopped him. But Bubbles was traumatized, and this is definitely his biggest fear, is tall man. And during this discussion, we got to see the whole thing in flashback. So we saw Playground Spencer, meaning little kid playing Spencer as a child, was Riley Wilson. This is his only credit. And Playground Bubbles was Hayden Baker. And this was their only credit as well. So probably some random people on the crew's kids they had step in to do that. And the tall man, who we saw first in this flashback, is played by Strawn Sutherland. He has 12 acting credits. He also has writing credits, directing credits, editing, all sorts of credits.
So he's not unlike Taylor Olson, who's a pretty busy guy.
Yeah, and fun little side fact is he's the one that designed the Halloween meme for this film. He was the graphic designer that did that, this gentleman who played the tall man.
Gotcha. Okay.
One thing that, this feels like a good time to mention, and I didn't know where to say this, that I really appreciate about this film is that Spencer is not transgender.
Yeah, I wasn't even sure if I should bring that up.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't fit the show, but I feel like it's important to say because we know T. Thomason is a transgender male.
Yes.
Transgender advocate, as well as his mother, Shelley. And I just think it's so important to applaud when we're giving a transgender actor a role that's not a transgender specific character.
Now, what's interesting to me is that there's a girl, I don't remember her name, I forgot to take note of it, but she appears on Euphoria. That actress no longer wants to play transgender roles, despite the fact that she's transgender.
Right.
Because she just wants to kind of just
break out of that stigma.
And I think that's important. I think it's at some point we should stop thinking about these people as, stop labeling them as trans.
Exactly.
And just start thinking about
them
as people.
That's my point is, yeah, you are a transgender male, but you can just play a male character.
Right.
And we're confirming here that Spencer's not transgender because we met 5-year-old Spencer.
Right.
As a male child.
Mm-hmm.
So I just feel like that's a good positive to this film is we didn't make the fact that we have a transgender actor mean like we're going to focus like, oh, it's a transgender character.
Right. I was debating whether to even bring that up or not. But yeah, I guess that's a very good point to make. All right, so Bubbles is in class doodling. He looks out a window and spots the tall man and starts freaking out and starts freaking the class out as well. He leaves the class terrified and is eventually murdered. Goodbye, Bubbles.
Okay, I know you want to get through this because it is a long movie, but we meet a lot of people in this scene, including one important one I want to mention.
Okay.
So in the classroom scene, we have Professor Smith. He's played by Jamie Bradley. He's in an episode of Lizzie Borden Chronicles, an episode of Mr. D, and an episode of a show called A Seed. We meet a student named Susan.
Okay.
Who was responding to Bubbles freaking out. Like, who are you upset about? What is this? And eventually a student comes to the door. And this student doesn't have a line, so we don't have a credit for them. But the student's name is Pardee, and Susan's like, Pardee, what did you do to Bubbles? Thinking that's who he was upset about. Yeah. So anyways, this actress, Susan, is Morgan Melnick.
That name sounds familiar.
Morgan Melnick. She is in 2 episodes of Chapelwaite. She's in the movie Bone Cage. She is a makeup artist on From.
Okay.
And
okay. That's Morgan. That's
Yeah.
Okay, Reed Price's girlfriend.
Reed Price's girlfriend. I was getting to that part because I feel like that's a pretty lower role for her.
Yes.
I want to for actual accomplishments. I was going to say first before who she's related to.
Yeah. Okay.
She's a makeup artist on From as well as King and Pawn. She was a makeup artist on Dawn, Her Dead and the Tractor and Bone Cage. So she's a makeup artist and an actress. And yes, she is the girlfriend of Reed Price, who by the time this airs, we're hoping to get her on the channel.
Yes, we would absolutely love to talk to her.
We're gonna talk to her, and we'd love to have her. And if we haven't done it yet, hopefully we can work that out.
Absolutely.
But yeah, that's Morgan Melnick.
Okay.
Who had a very small line in this film, but wanted to draw her out because she's in our circle.
Right. I did not realize that at all. Like, I looked into most of these people credits, and even the ones
There's a lot of them
I didn't take note of, I like looked at the credits, but her I completely missed. All right, so Grace.
Okay, so you said he dies. Now he dies. We get our first kind of shot at something. I mean, we saw the pig man already, but it was somebody wearing a pig mask, right?
Right.
This is our first shot of something kind of maybe paranormal happening.
Mm-hmm.
So he'd seen the tall man, obviously played by the same actor. He goes to this food truck, and the food truck girl serving him turns into, she like morphs into the tall man.
Yes.
But also like a demon version of him.
Mm-hmm.
So it's this first like moment of like, oh, something weird and supernatural is what's killing these people.
Right.
Not just like, oh, that dude's actually here. It's not like it physically just brought that real man here, but it's like some demonic presentation that looks like these things that we're afraid of. And the food truck girl, by the way, is played by Callie Cochran. She's only in this and one episode of Mr. D are her only credits so far.
Gotcha. All right, so...
Okay, now you can move forward.
Yes. Zach Faye is dead. The character, not the actor. The character that he's playing, rather. Not,
Bubbles.
Yes, anyway. Grace gets a call in the morning and ends up back in the lab. Apparently the virus sends by email.
It forwards.
Okay.
So every time that you enter your fear and don't get the witch, it's going to forward to a random person on your contact list. Which is how this thing perpetuates, right? So it started in the closet, but now it's going. So it's going to kill somebody. If it didn't kill you, it's going to kill some. It's going to keep going until it finds somebody that gets the witch.
And he looks into the recording that he filmed, and he messes around with the contrast on his phone, and he finds a rune in this video of Darren's Halloween party. And the more he looks into it, he realizes it means something to do with demons, and there's lots of exposition about demons.
We see two things in this video. We see, like you said, a rune, and we're looking at this list of different runes. And by the way, I saw some From symbols in that list. If you're not watching From on MGM Plus, check it out.
Yes,
awesome
absolutely.
Movie. That's where a lot of these people, well, how we started talking about all these people.
Right, indeed.
And then the other thing was, like, is this... I lost my place in my notes. This is where we also see the shadow picture?
Yes.
Okay,
yep.
so it's a picture of like 5 people in a shadow.
Watching you.
Yeah. And it, of course, that's very significant, this shadow image. And at this point, they're just like, well, that's creepy, but what is it?
Right. So someone enters the lab, and it's basically one of these dudes that you were talking about earlier.
So all like the IT guys here.
And eventually Grace and Spencer realize that Bubbles is actually dead, killed at a playground, which was goes along with what his actual fear is.
Right.
They go back to her former roommate's room and end up suspecting that the closet is haunted. The computer lights up for Grace, again, for some strange reason.
Well, it hasn't gotten her yet, so it's trying again. This is how they learn. Like, it's going after whoever's closest.
Gotcha.
So someone standing in the closet or dropping something in the closet's triggering it. And then the person that's nearest to them is the name getting picked.
So the mouse isn't working, the keyboard isn't working.
Because when they first got there, Spencer was unplugging everything. He's trying to, research what the heck's happening on the computer. And so everything's unplugged. She's got 60 seconds to enter it, and it's this race against time to try and get everything plugged back in so she can enter her spider fear again.
And she manages to do it just in the nick of time.
Just in the nick of time. But yeah, throughout all of this, they realized that it's definitely the closet.
Yeah, Spencer pulls up the rug a little bit and finds out that the floor is actually bricked.
And the bricks are loose right there and damaged. And they proclaim that they bricked something up.
So they end up going to the library.
I just want to make one more comment before we move on to the library. It's been 3 weeks since Zoe died, right?
Yeah.
Why, one, is all of her stuff still in her room?
You figured that
the school would have boxed that stuff up by now.
Right, or the parents would have come and got it
or
something. Yeah.
And why does Grace have access to this room?
Yeah.
It's just sitting open with all of her stuff in it 3 weeks after she died?
Yeah. I guess this is a really negligent staff. But,
okay. Anyways, yes, they go to the library. And
they talk to the librarian.
Who's played by Genevieve Steele. She's in 2 episodes of Diggstown and an episode of Haven.
Haven is very popular amongst the people who are appearing in this film.
Yes, it is. Amongst all of our Nova Scotian friends.
Yes. Then, okay, where am I? Okay.
They're at the library.
Okay, yeah. So they're at the library, and they're talking to the librarian.
They're looking at blueprints of the campus and the dorm. And there's apparently this tunnel system below all the buildings, connecting the buildings. And Grayson House, which is Zoe's dorm building, it used to be part of an old hospital until they turned it into a residence in 2002.
And this is where they learn about the balloon babies, and this is like disfigured children.
Yeah, so this building specifically, it was part of the palliative care building. So it housed dying children. And specifically where her room is where the balloon babies were housed. And Grace and Spencer don't know anything about this. Now, I did look this up. This is not... The jelly children is a real phrase, but not balloon babies.
Does jelly children relate to anything that happens in this movie?
Well, yeah. Okay, so the librarian gives them a book. The title of the book is The Balloon Babies and Jelly Children of the Northeast.
What I'm saying is, like, the jelly children that you said is a real thing actually relate to what's going on in this film?
Jelly children are, I guess... I don't want to sound insensitive talking about birth defects because I don't have all the details here, but babies born without bones. So
that sounds very unpleasant.
They have no structure, not necessarily all their bones, but jelly as in their blobs of...
Okay.
Yeah, I feel like I'm sounding insensitive, so I'm not going to continue that train of thought. But Balloon Babies and Jelly Children, this book, palliative care of the Harton Hills chemical plant victims. So this book is specifically about these kids that died in this building. They lived in this building and they died in this building, and they all had these really horrific birth defects as a result of a chemical spill that happened nearby.
Now, the librarian has a documentary film, but it's on old school film.
It's on 8mm, I think is what they said.
Where you basically have to have a projector to watch it.
They check out all of this stuff and they're leaving this is crazy, but they want to watch this documentary. I don't know why they didn't just watch it in the library.
I mean, they very easily
Why they could have checked out all of this stuff to watch it. It was kind of silly.
Right. So Spencer finds something in the script. What? Yeah. So he's on the computer. He's looking at something on the computer and finds something in the script. Grace says they need to destroy it, but the thing he says he won't. He says he's not going to do it until after he completes the scan. And before this, they're watching the documentary, which is not very pleasant.
They're watching the documentary, which has all of these actual image of kids with birth defects.
Yeah.
Which is kind of disturbing. And she's flipping through the book, and she sees one of the pictures in the book, which is labeled The Halloween Party, which is where our title of the film comes from. She doesn't really understand it at this point. We definitely will get back to what that picture is all about. But it's the 5 kids sitting around a table, and they all have masks on. And we learned that none of these kids lived past their teens. They all died here. And we... in the documentary, meet Dr. Arthur McNeil.
He's played by Jeremy Ackerman. He's probably the most accomplished actor in this film. He has 85 acting credits. Lots of Jesse Stone movies with Tom Selleck.
He is in 5 episodes of Chapelwaite. And he also plays a judge on Lizzie Borden, the Lizzie Borden Chronicle series, as well as the original film, Lizzie Borden Took an Axe.
Gotcha.
Those are the ones featuring Christina Ricci as Lizzie Borden. And he also plays a judge on various Trailer Park Boy projects. So apparently he's a good judge.
Gotcha. All right, so they end up calling him up, and or somebody up.
Yeah, they're trying to get a hold of this Dr. McNeil because he appears to be the one that knows things about these kids. And one thing that we see during this documentary also is a bird image, and I didn't mention this at the top, but right at the very beginning of the film, in Zoe's vacation pictures, there was a picture of a mural of birds, and they had this conversation about the bird mural and how a prisoner had painted it because the birds represent escape for the prisoners. And we see, I'm not sure if this was in the documentary or the book because they're all happening at the same time, but we see a bird image. We see them painting birds.
Right.
So these kids are painting birds And it's reflective of like that conversation she'd already had earlier in the film about, oh, that means they're prisoners and they're trying to escape, which obviously is important, talking about the mindset of these balloon babies.
Right, yeah.
The Halloween party.
All right, so we go to the house where we see Shelley Thompson as his wife, doing a very British accent, very enthusiastically. I'm not sure if we're supposed to be taking this accent seriously or not, but it's fun to see her playing scenes with her son, T. Thomason.
Yeah, so again, that's Shelley Thompson, who we have interviewed. Go check out our interview
That
with
is the
her.
most important credit on her page.
Absolutely. In addition, she plays Barb on the Trailer Park Boys, Mrs. Markiff on Sullivan's Crossing. She's in King and Pawn. She's the writer and director of Dawn, Her Dad, and the Tractor, as well as publishing the book based on that called Roar.
Yep.
And, of course, mother of T. Thomason, who plays Spencer. And like you said, it's so great to see them in scenes together.
Yes.
I don't think we ever actually saw them in a scene together in Sullivan's Crossing.
We did not.
There were moments where they were talking about things, and we were seeing back and forths, and I was like, oh, that's really cool.
Yeah.
But they weren't actually in the same place at the same time.
Right. No, I don't think they had any.
Yeah, because they were actually in different countries, actually, their characters. But seeing them play this scene, yeah, it is cool to just know, like, hey, that's your mom. Isn't that cool to, like, be acting off of her? Right,
yeah. So they show her the book, and she flips through the pages and has nostalgia. She says for them, Halloween was every day.
Right. She explains that they were kind of nicknamed the Halloween party because of the masks. You know, they always wore masks to kind of hide their defects, and they felt like grotesque.
Right. She tells them that as they got older, they became something else. They became terrible to the staff, and they were no longer humans, but creatures that wanted to lash out at them.
And also notably, they had a computer club. These 5 specific ones that we're talking about that were called the Halloween Party. They were the oldest of the group.
She basically mentions that, the family that they did have slowly stopped visiting. And they ended up unaliving themselves.
They wanted to lash out.
Yeah.
Specifically to the company that poisoned the ground, the city that let them, and the people who just wanted to forget them. And I think it was Spencer that's like, oh, that would be us. Like the common people that forgot they exist. That, turned this place that was their prison into a place where we have parties.
A school, and eventually. Yeah, where they literally get buried in this school.
Yeah, so she says they killed themselves. We're going to learn that's not exactly true later.
Yep.
They show her this shadowy image. She doesn't recognize it, but she said, let's ask my husband.
And he's hooked up to a bunch of machines. He's not looking like he's doing so good.
Yeah, he's notably older than Shelley Thompson. He can't breathe on his own. Like, he's hooked to machines to breathe for him. He can't talk on his own. He's using this tablet to type. Like, he types the word hello, and it took like 30 seconds.
I'm kind of wondering how long an actual conversation would have gone on for.
Right, I feel like it would have been hard to get anything out of him. Grace asks him about the documentary and hands him her tablet that's got the shadow image on it. And he has an episode.
Yeah, he basically starts freaking out.
He starts typing the letter L over and over. Like, he just, throws down on it. And he points at the kids. And he makes this inaudible remark. We don't know what he's trying to say because he can't really talk, but he's making a sound come out of his mouth. And then Barbara, the wife, he chases them out of the room, and she's like, okay, you gotta go now.
Right.
So they didn't get a chance to really find out what the heck his response was all about.
So, but before she goes, Barbara ends up giving Grace a good luck charm.
Yeah, a small little bird talisman that Arthur gave her. That's the husband. She says it's for protection, which she thinks that Grace is going to need. But she wants it back when Grace is done with it because it's important to her. All right, more spoiler time.
Okay.
I'm going to skip ahead to discuss this. Barbara obviously knows that they're up against the balloon babies.
Yes.
Since she gave Grace this talisman and said, you're going to need it. She knows something paranormal and crazy is happening.
Well, based on how this film ends, she also knows exactly what's going on.
So, why doesn't she give them a better warning?
Right.
Why doesn't she tell them what they need to do or what they shouldn't do?
Right. Exactly.
She's just like, here's a good luck charm. Bring it back when you're done.
Right.
Okay, I get she doesn't want to implicate themselves in their crime, right? Which we'll soon learn, like, they are the ones that killed them.
Yeah.
But you know what's happening. You know demons are involved. Why are you not giving these kids any direction? Why aren't you yourself going to help lock them up again?
Right.
Instead, you're like, here's a little bird. Bring it back to me after, if you survive.
Mm-hmm. I mean, at the very least, Barbara should have said, don't let them go.
Exactly.
And she doesn't even do that.
No.
So.
She just at the end is like, what did you do? Like, well, you didn't tell her not to.
Right, yeah. She got it into this head that that's what she was supposed to do, and you didn't disabuse her of that notion. And you probably should have said that, since it's pretty important.
Yeah.
But
so I just feel like her character did a really bad job of just being like, here's some protection, good luck.
Yeah. Okay, so
in the car, Spencer and Grace are trying to figure out what Arthur was saying. They came up that he was trying to say flee.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, I think I missed this in my notes earlier. They had a conversation of where they would flee to.
Yes, he mentions that he would end up going to Cleveland here.
Cleveland, and he said he'd get in a car and go to Cleveland. And she's like, no, the airport.
Right.
We get in an airplane and we leave.
Right.
Because that comes up later. So I wanted to just mention they had that conversation. That's their plan if things go haywire.
All right, so Grace says they need to delete the program and fix the brick. Spencer ends up deleting it by phone.
Yeah, which was super easy. He's like, okay, it's gone.
Right. Unfortunately, it's not that simple, because there's an email still back at the lab that he blocked off or something on those lines.
Yeah, so she said, well, okay, one of them wants to go to the cops. Which one wants to go to the cops?
Probably Grace.
I forget who, but I quoted what somebody said here, that no one was going to believe them, right?
Yeah.
That no one's going to believe a hacker group of revenge-seeking demons, deformed teenagers in a suicide pact that poured their souls into the world's scariest virus was coming to life.
Right. I would believe that if you put it to me that way, for sure, totally. So we're back at the lab with these guys, basically Spencer's co-workers, and they're talking about the horror app, and they want to end up breaking into his office or whatever. And this all spells trouble.
They're talking about the meme. They want to see it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, they go into Spencer's laptop to play with the meme.
Yeah.
The one version of it that still exists. So he's on his way in there to delete it, to finally put an end to it. And in the morning, they're going to go re-brick the floor, and that's going to be the end of it, as far as they think. But the IT guys are like, oh, we want to play with this. This seems like fun. And when Spencer arrives, he immediately realizes what they did.
Mm-hmm.
And because they didn't know, it forwards.
Right.
So they figured as long as we put our fear in and don't get the witch, like, cool. I mean, they don't know it's real anyways.
Right.
But they were saved.
Yeah.
It forwarded. And this time it forwarded to Garrett, who is one of the bros.
So Grace is sleeping.
Now, she's doing what she does best.
Yeah.
We see like 10 times throughout this film, we see her sleeping in her bed.
Yes.
I wonder if they filmed all those scenes together or separately.
I mean, it would make sense to just film it all in one take.
So she's sleeping with a cat. Who has a cat in a dorm room?
I don't know.
She has a cat. The cat is named Jonesy, who, by the way, has a credit on IMDb.
Interesting.
How did a cat get credits? I don't know.
Is it credited for this movie or something else? Okay.
And, okay, so the cat's name, the actor that plays the cat, Jonesy, is played in Kidu.
Okay.
And so, one of the things when I'm doing these kind of notes is I take all the cast lists, and then throughout the project, I'm trying to match up who they are, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm rearranging them, like putting them in order when we meet these people, so I can get a handle of who they are. And I'm pretty proud of myself. I did a pretty good job. There's only 2 actors that I wasn't able to pinpoint exactly who they were in the film. But one of them was Enkidu, whose character was Jonesy. And not here, but later on, we call the cat Jonesy.
Okay.
So the cat is Jonesy.
Gotcha.
And I'm pretty sure the reason that the cat is on IMDb is because IMDb does not know that this is a cat. Because IMDb does not allow animals.
Right.
But Enkidu the cat has 3 credits.
Okay.
This, an episode of a show called Picnic Face, and a self-credit on a bedbug documentary called Bite Me.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Okay. So the cat has 3 credits on Internet Movie Database.
Yeah, more than some of these actors do.
I know, right? All right.
So yeah, she's in bed with the cat.
Yeah.
And Spencer's trying to get a hold of her, but can't because she's sleeping.
And meanwhile, Mike, Court, and others are preparing for their actual Halloween party. This includes Spencer.
Right, so it's Halloween now.
Yeah.
Today's Halloween. We finally got there. Excuse me, I got a tickle in my throat because I'm getting a little excited about the cat. Okay, so yeah, he's going to the frat house because Garrett is the one that it was forwarded to.
Yep.
Excuse me. Right, so Garrett is one of the bros we haven't met yet until now. He's played by Jackson Meisner. This is his only credit.
Yep. So the cat has more credits than the guy who played Garrett in this film.
Yeah. So yeah, they're prepping for the Halloween party, and then another bro named O'Brien brings Spencer in. He's played by Devin Taylor. He's in one episode of Diggstown. So he's the one who brings Spencer in and is like, hey, this guy's here to see you.
Okay, so Spencer arrives to see if any of them have checked their phones or computers. Lo and behold, it opens up for Garrett on a computer. No one is taking this seriously except for, of course, Spencer. He pressures him into giving an actual answer, which turns out to be an alcoholic mother who pushed him over.
Right.
On some kind of
so Garrett is saved, but that means it's going to forward again. So what are you going to do? Are you going to chase this thing forever, following each person it forwards to?
Right.
What is your plan to stop it?
Right. I don't think he actually has one.
Because once it forwards, you have 60 seconds.
Right.
So that's not enough time for you to kill it.
Right. No.
Without it again getting forwarded. So I'm not sure what he's planning on doing here, but he managed to save Garrett, but it forwards. He's about to leave when on the same computer it pops up Halloween party for Spencer.
But unfortunately, these guys are a bunch of douche guys. I'm getting douche bumps with talking about them.
They're disappointed because they didn't get to see the witch. They
Right.
want to see the witch that everybody's talking about. Again, who is everybody? Anybody that we know has seen the witch is dead, so why does everybody know about this witch?
Right. And they're even talking about how basically Bubbles died, and they're still not taking this seriously.
Yeah, they all think it's a big joke. You'd think they'd be more upset that their friend died, but I guess not. They're that much of
douche bumps.
Douche bumps, yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, it's Spencer's name now. They hold him down so that he can't enter his fear. And we had a conversation earlier that his biggest fear used to be bears, but now the Halloween party's taken over.
Right.
So he says, enter Halloween party, because that's his biggest fear now is these balloon babies.
So...
But they don't do it. They hold him down, let the timer run out, and then they're disappointed with the witch. They're like, really? That was it?
Right.
But of course, Spencer's mortified knowing what this means.
Right. But Spencer says that he's not going to die. They all are.
Right.
I'm kind of curious as to why they're all going to die.
Okay, so again, part of that conversation earlier where they were talking about their fears, it was when they were arguing about like, hey, should we go to the police? What should we do? And that's when their resolution was, let's just block them in, right? And delete the thing and block them in, because again, I forget if it was Spencer or Grace, but one of them said, well, so it forwards. It's somebody else's problem. It's not our problem anymore, right? And the other one said, well, it would be our problem if their biggest fear was airborne Ebola.
Right.
Like if it's something that's going to affect everybody, then it's everybody's problem.
Yeah.
Because if your biggest fear is something that could kill you, but also it can kill other people. So what he's saying here is, well, Halloween party's coming to life. Like they're just going to kill everybody.
Oh, okay.
He realizes they're just malicious killers.
Right.
So if they're coming to life because it's his biggest fear coming to life, he's not the only one that's going to die.
Gotcha. Okay.
And he was right.
Okay. So Mike is impressed with his exit line saying, we're all going to die. And he keeps repeating this until Court gets annoyed with him.
So Court's annoyed, but a fart party, that's Mike. He was happy about it. He thought this is all great.
Spencer desperately tries to call and text Grace, but of course she's sleeping. He thinks he sees someone about to kill him, but it's just kids dressed in masks.
Yeah, and they're trick-or-treating because it's Halloween.
Grace is still sleeping.
It's true.
Mike is preparing for the party and finds an old Lego. I'm not sure what that's about. Court goes to the bathroom, finds a burnt Barbie, and is eventually killed by something coming out of the toilet.
Okay, so these are these toys, the Lego tower, the doll. These are toys that we saw during the documentary, the Halloween party playing with. So their things are coming to life first. We're seeing their things.
Gotcha.
And Yeah, this is a funny thing because Court, like, he's on the toilet this whole time, and he hears these noises around him, and then he sees mask-faced demon girl staring up at him from inside the toilet bowl, which is one of the balloon babies. And I had a note somewhere to go over the balloon babies, and I didn't. So I'm going to go over the balloon babies now.
Sure,
and cover that.
All right.
Instead of trying to pick them out one at a time. So we actually saw all 5 of them for the first time during the documentary footage. And then we're going to meet all of them as, as they're killing people. So there are 5 of them. And this one who was in the toilet, again, is Mask-Faced Demon Girl is the character's name. She's played by Christina Spirin. Only has 4 credits, including an episode of Mr. D. Okay, one of the other ones is called Plastic Bag Inside Out Boy. He's pretty terrifying looking.
Yes.
He's played by Bailey Mohan. I'm probably saying that wrong. I apologize. He's in 5 episodes of Mr. D and Books of Blood.
Well, that sounds pleasant.
Another one of the balloon babies is called Dinosaur Boy with Lips for Eyes. Now, Dinosaur Boy with Lips for Eyes, again, these credits are hilarious, is played by Taylor Long. His only acting credits is this plus an episode of Mr. D. He is by trade a photographer and videographer.
Okay.
Now, an interesting note about Taylor is that he was actually born without a fibula bone in both of his legs.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know if that technically means he's a jelly child.
Well, it would...
so he was born without bones in his legs, so he had his feet amputated when he was a baby. Which means that some of those really, crazy effects of him is his actual limbs. Now they added about a dozen more in his special effects of him.
Yeah.
And it's a really creepy image, this character. But yeah, some of that is his actual extremities.
Oh, okay.
And the 4th of the 5 is Horse Boy Who Just Needs Love.
Aww.
Horse Boy Who Just Needs Love is played by David Gibson McLean. And his only credits are this and 1 episode of Mr. D. And finally, we have Hairface.
Hairface, okay.
Hairface is played by Lena Andriani, who has 5 total acting credits, including 1 episode of Seed. Okay. So those are the balloon babies. We do not get their real names, just those ridiculous descriptions. So the one who comes out of the toilet, I'm pretty confident that, again, was Mask-Faced Demon Girl.
All right, so meanwhile, we find Mike wandering around a very messy kitchen. Seriously, does anybody ever, take out the trash here?
It's a frat house. Specifically, that's the joke, is there's a sign on the garbage can that says, if you knock it over, you take it out.
Okay.
So he puts the Legos on the top of the trash, trying so carefully not to let it spill, because if it spills, it's your job to change the can.
Well, he's not going to have to worry about that, because something's going to come out of trash and kill him. So that gets him out of trash duty.
Yes. Something literally reaches out from so we don't know which of these babies it was, but it was one of the balloon babies.
So Spencer runs around. He ends up seeing his family. Who are these people?
Okay, so what I gathered is this is where he lives.
Okay, that's what I thought, but I wasn't totally sure.
Yeah, I have is this where he's supposed to live? And then later I was like, yeah, it is. I'm very confused by the residences.
Right.
I don't feel like this is very representative of any college.
Right.
It's like a regular house, but it's not a frat house.
Right, no.
It's just this is his dorm house, and this woman is the dorm mother. It's very strange.
Then who are these kids? They don't go to college.
So the woman there, her name is Violet, and she's prepping for Halloween, and there's kids there. So the kids, they're having a Halloween party because kids are trick-or-treating.
Right.
So there's kids helping her make bags of candy, and she's like, Spencer, do you want to help? I don't know. It's Halloween.
Right.
And she's very naive. Again, her name's Violet. She's played by Merlane Carew. She's in 8 episodes of The Mist and an episode of Haven.
Gotcha. Okay, so basically he's very concerned about these kids that are in mass, thinking they're going to kill him.
Yeah, and he specifically sees Skull Boy standing outside, and he's convinced this is one of the Halloween party. And so he's watching Skull Boy. Meanwhile, Grace wakes up.
Yes.
She goes to take a bath.
She acts like she was just having a nightmare of some kind.
Yeah, she wakes up from her bedroom and goes to take a bath. So we're cutting back and forth between them at this point. Spencer asks Violet about Skull Boy. Who is that? And she's like, what? It's kid trick-or-treating. So Skullboy's approaching the house, and Spencer yells at him to get back, and I don't know if he was holding something out to him. It was very like, demon, go away.
Right.
But the kid reveals himself. It's just Greg.
Right.
And Violet's like, oh, do you know Greg, Spencer? Like, it was this really funny scene. But Skullboy, a.k.a. Greg, is played by Jordan McMurray. This is his only credit, and he is not a member of Halloween Party. He's just a kid trick-or-treating.
Yep. Meanwhile, Grace is getting scared by her cat.
Yeah, this is where we get his name, Jonesy.
Okay. She gets a call from Spencer, and they decide they need to go to the airport rather than Cleveland. And theoretically, Grace is fine. She's not in any danger at all at this point, right? Why does she need to flee?
I mean, because the Halloween party's here.
Oh, because of Spencer's fear. Now everybody's gonna die.
Yeah, the Halloween party's loose. Okay. They're out. So Spencer's in his room packing. They decide to go to the airport, and they're like, "We're gonna meet at 5 minutes at her van." Now, as Spencer's going down the stairs to leave, he finds the candy display that was just being worked on a few minutes ago completely trashed. The room is empty. And then he sees one of the Halloween party eating somebody.
Yeah, that's not very pleasant.
And I couldn't pick out which of the Halloween party it was, but somebody's eating somebody.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess everybody in that room was dead now. This is the only person we saw, but there were a lot of people here. And now there's not.
Grace and Spencer meet up. They encounter one of the demons. They try to run it over.
Well, before that, as she's leaving her house, she grabs the bird talisman on the floor, and she sees one of the Halloween party. Mm-hmm. She sees plastic bag, inside out boy, kind of taunting her through the shower curtain.
Right.
And he's just kind of a bloody inside out boy.
Right. Yeah. I mean, basically, you don't have to do much to frighten people. Being with that description.
Yeah. So when they're at the van, like you said, they see somebody standing behind the van, and they're arguing like, is that one of the party members or not? Because remember, there was this whole Skullboy incident, right? And one of them's like, oh, run him over. And then they're like, what? Is that one of them? We don't know that's one of them. It could just be a kid in a costume. But while they're trying to debate this, it was a Halloween party member. This is Horseboy, who just needs love. He smashes into the van.
Yep.
And they end up getting out of the van and running away. Now, couldn't they have still freaking driven away even though the window was smashed?
I believe so. I don't think that would have affected the operation of the car.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure just the building, the window was smashed. But they abandoned the van. They run into a building. They run down into the basement, and they end up in the university tunnel system.
This is basically where the movie turns into the Blair Witch Project, and you basically you can barely see anything.
Yeah, the lights go out, and I'm not sure why the lights went out.
Maybe the demons have affected the power somehow. They've started eating the power systems.
Also, Grace's phone is at 1%. That's about to die.
Yeah, that's not a good situation.
And Spencer doesn't have his phone on him. Where's his phone?
Maybe he left it somewhere.
He doesn't have his phone, but he has a charger. So they've got her phone that's about to die, his charger. They're looking around for an outlet to charge her phone. And they have that camera still.
Yes, which
they're going to start using soon.
Because it actually can...
it's infrared, so it can see in the dark. But they need charger on the phone first, because this is at 1%. So they're looking for a place to charge the phone. And but the phone dies before they find a place. So they're in the complete dark now. Spencer has a lighter and is now leading the way with a lighter.
Yes, that's a good situation.
And they realize that they follow the tunnel system into the abandoned part of the old hospital, complete with needles discarded on the floor. I was a little confused because wouldn't they have either cleaned this up or completely sealed it off? I don't feel like you'd be able to just walk here through the tunnel system that everybody has access to.
I was thinking that they would have at least made it so that you couldn't go here.
Right, sealed it off.
Yeah.
But then they see dinosaur boys with lips for eyes laying on a mattress. So maybe it was some supernatural reason that they're in the old. Maybe it's not really there, the old hospital. Maybe they just kind of morphed into the old hospital.
Okay.
I don't know, but yeah, they're in the hospital now. And Dinosaur Boy with lips for eyes is laying on the mattress, and we see he opens his eyes up and we see the weird lips for eyes graphic, and he's super creepy. And Spencer and Grace run away. He's not trying to harm them. He's just chilling out on a mattress.
Right.
But there's no light anymore. They lose the lighter, but they see a red glow. And it leads them to a room with an outlet. That's pretty good luck that they saw this glow from a random room. And they go there and they plug the phone in. And he says they're going to die down here. But she says that then their audience wouldn't find out, will they or won't they? They can't die here.
Ah, yes.
Call back to that whole movie reference.
Yep.
Of how we're not in a movie.
Oh, does that mean he has a chance?
At this moment, it seems like it.
Okay.
This is when we got some charge on the phone finally. They put the camera on the end of a mop handle, and they're going to use this camera to see their way through the tunnels.
So eventually they end up stumbling upon one of the other Halloween creatures. The camera ends up finding it, and this is where Spencer unfortunately ends up dying.
Yeah.
Grace escapes. She runs to the school, and starts to she gets to basically her old roommate's room, and she starts to bash the bricks as the evil things are trying to get her.
Yeah, because she, we're seeing those bird images during this, and she's looking at the bird talisman, and she puts two and two together, and now she thinks that what Dr. McHale was saying wasn't flee, it was free, and she thinks he was telling her, in order to get rid of these guys, you got to free them from their entombment.
Oh yeah, that's in my notes somewhere that you sped by. But yeah.
So sorry.
No.
I know it's hard to follow when someone else just keeps going, right? You do it to me a lot.
in this case, it's like there's just like it's so I don't even know what's going on.
Yeah, there's a lot going on at the same time. Nothing's happening because we're
Right.
just looking at a black screen because they're in the dark.
Yeah.
So yeah, she smashes the
bricks.
The bricks.
Yep. And she releases the entities. There's a glow, and
it's this white like illumination that comes out,
Right.
like ah.
And it seems all is well.
Yeah, she thinks she succeeded, even though poor Spencer didn't make it.
Nope. Grace goes to visit Mrs. McNeil, and she tells her that she released them, but the doctor's wife is not exactly thrilled by this.
She is horrified.
Right.
I was trying to look for... Okay, keep going.
Okay.
I'll find it.
So, on the flight, we think we're safe.
Oh, on the flight.
Yes.
You skipped all the way... Okay.
Is there more?
I don't know. Just give me 1 second, because I got lost in my notes.
Okay.
Oh, okay, yeah. So, we did talk about the scene already with Shelley Thompson. She looks at Grace like she is totally insane.
Right.
Right? Like, you did what? You let them out? She goes, do you realize what you've done?
Yes.
Meaning, obviously, it's not over. You just literally let them free, and they can wreak havoc all they want now. Now, if they are free, which we're being told they are, why do they still need to resort to the Halloween meme?
Maybe they still want to
They just want to?
Yeah, I guess.
Okay, so like you said, we're on an airplane now. Grace goes on the airplane by herself.
Yep.
Because she's still trying to do their plan. Like, I don't know, if they're out and they're free in the world, I'm not sure what you think getting on an airplane is going to help. But she gets on an airplane and she's going to Thailand, which is where Zoe's vacation pictures were from. At the beginning, she was like, that looks so beautiful, I want to go there. So she's going to Thailand.
And all the monitors end up lighting up with the Halloween party.
We see the witch.
Several people are talking about it. One of the people talking about it is an old dude and his wife. He's played by Simon Sin, who played Kenny's father on From.
Yes,
so that's a From connection.
The character's name is Andy on Plane. I'm glad that they gave some of these characters some reference, so I knew when to expect them. Although it did mean I knew there was going to be a plane scene the entire movie.
Right.
Yeah, Simon Sin. He plays Mr. Liu on From. He's also in one episode of The Handmaid's Tale, and he's in an episode of Warehouse 13.
Oh, okay.
I found that interesting. His wife character is named May on Plane. She's played by Jane Luke. She has 107 acting credits, including also one episode of Handmaid's Tale, and she's in the movie Saw 3.
Ooh.
So these two characters are mirroring Spencer and Grace.
Yeah.
So she says her biggest fear is spiders crawling inside her.
Yes.
And he says his biggest fear is bears.
Yes.
So it's Spencer and Grace's, original fears that we talked about. And, but she couldn't figure out the screen. So it's on the little screens behind the chairs, the Halloween meme. Everybody got one on the plane. She couldn't figure hers out. She couldn't figure out how to type on it. So she got the witch. Meaning spiders are now free in the plane. And we see another character named Spidered Girl on Plane, played by Isabel Cannon. She is in 27 episodes of a show called Haunted or Hoax, and 26 episodes of a show called Abroad. The spiders start crawling up her, and she's freaking out like, ah, spiders. And then meanwhile, we hear a bear. There's a bear in the back of the plane because everybody on the plane's fears are coming out now that didn't enter their fear in time, which it looks like it's a lot of them, because how do you type on a airplane thing? Nobody knows how to do that. I think a couple of them did. I saw a couple that looked like congratulations, but that just means they're getting forwarded to places off of the plane.
Right. Yeah.
And yeah, we hear the bear, and then Grace is shown with spiders crawling all over her face.
Well, we know where they're going.
And that is the end of the film.
Now, I'm kind of curious how exactly that would kill you, but...
I mean, it's just like your fear. But what's really going to kill them now is that there's like bears and things loose in this plane, and fears and paranoia, and the plane's going to go down.
Yeah, there's not a lot of room on this plane.
Actually,
so I'm imagining...
during the closing credits, like at the end of the cast list, they show a storyboard image of a plane going down in Thailand.
Crashing.
I think that was like their intention to show that, but they couldn't do that in budget.
Yeah.
So they just put that storyboard image up at the end. So yeah, the concept is the plane's crashing, and everybody who did successfully enter their fear has now forwarded it. Yeah. So it's in the world now.
Mm-hmm. And that is where the movie ends.
The flight attendant in this scene's played by Mary Gian Nijin. This is her only credit. And I just want to make sure that we hit everybody. I think that we did. Again, I'm very proud of myself for matching these up. The only character I wasn't able to match up was a character named Shmom Schmiles, played by Tom Niles.
Okay.
So the character's obviously named after the actor Tom. This is his only credit. I, for the life of me, could not figure out who Shmom Schmiles is. I don't know if it was a bro or an IT guy or a monster or a kid at a Halloween trick-or-treating, but somebody else in this movie said something, and their name was Shmom Schmiles.
Mm-hmm.
There's also a credit for an actor named Thomas Niles. Oh, wait, that's the same name.
Yes.
Okay. So I didn't, notice that till just now looking at this. There was a credit for a Thomas Niles, but there was no character name. It was just a credit. That person has 9 acting credits, including 1 episode of Trailer Park Boys. Now I'm thinking that those are just duplicate IMDb listings.
Oh, probably.
Yeah, so there must be an actor named Thomas Niles that they made a secondary page for with this only credit, calling him Tom Niles. As that now, I do IMDb entries for our show, I understand how sometimes this is insane and crazy.
Yeah, I forgot to mention, we also have a random executive producer guy on our page now.
What?
Yeah, there's a guy that I think you accidentally put as an executive producer on the credits. Oh.
I'll have to look at that.
Yeah, we should.
Because I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I was recently looking at it, and I was like, wait, who's this guy?
I will take a peek at that.
Yeah.
IMDb is tough to navigate, and I have a much better appreciation now that I'm doing those credits, understanding of how sometimes wacky things ends up on these credit lists, because it's very convoluted how it works to enter credits.
Yeah.
So there we go. That's the movie. It's got about 127 people in it.
Yep.
A lot of them we recognize.
And some of them we don't necessarily recognize, but that we've clearly talked about before. And some I'm sure that will pop up in other things we cover in the future, because that's how this works. Yes. We'll continue to see the Halloween Party on people's IMDb's as we keep going. Yep. And is a silly movie, but it's a fun fun little horror flick. It's not like the greatest movie ever, but it's certainly entertaining, which is, its purpose. Yeah. I do see a lot of flaws in the logic. Yeah. Yeah. But, it's a B horror. You just kind of got to overlook all that and enjoy it. I think there was a review on the page that said it was good for what it was, and I think that's pretty accurate. Yeah. It's just a fun little people die movie. I like that. I mean, so I don't have a problem with it. So this is our first of a couple of Halloween movies that we will cover. At least we're gonna do at least 4, maybe more. Who knows? We'll see what happens. But they're gonna pop up throughout the month, so keep your eye out for them. And again, as well as our regular coverage, which right now should be season 3 of From, season 2 of Sullivan's Crossing. So much great stuff. Yes, absolutely. All right. Do we have anything else to say before concluding? Let us know your thoughts on the film. And again, we might not get to sharing those right away, but we will share them
at the end of the month. We'll
All right.
share. We'll make sure we go back and share all of the comments everybody left about all of our films that we cover.
Okay, sounds
Yeah.
good. All right, Stacie, we reached
I
that.
can reach on Twitter, X, Instagram, and Threads at TVN Coupon Talk.
If you like this video and want to support the channel, there are a number of ways to do so. You can follow me on Twitter at Core Productions. You can join one of my Core Productions Facebook pages. You can buy something from the Core Productions store on Zazzle. You can buy me a coffee. You can join the Core Productions membership for 99 cents a month. And of course, you can like, share, and comment on this video, as well as subscribing to our channel and hitting the bell so that you know when new content drops. This is Dave and Stacie from Core Productions, signing off.